on my musical journey. And this is just a great warm up exercise and also just a good training exercise. The song is Freight Train, and it was written by a woman, Elizabeth Cotton, between a time frame of like 1906 to 1912. And there's like a million versions of the song. But it takes you around, the chord structure of the first three frets, which is, it uses all the fingers, stuff like that. So it's a really good warm-up exercise. And plus it's one of these songs that, you can slow the tempo down, speed it up, add all sorts of color, lifts, things, whatever, technique, into the playing. And the thing that's really also good about this is, when you're playing a chord, you want your finger to only be on that string and not bleed into the other string above or below. Because if you do, you're actually kind of muting the string above or below. And when you're picking a note, you want to actually pick the note, right? So again, as you develop your technique, you just get, this is a really good training tool to keep developing your technique. Because, I call it a journey, like a musical journey. I've always wanted to play music. I've just never had the time to do it. So I started about 4 years ago. I said, I'm going to really tackle it. And three pillars. I wanted to understand theory. I wanted to master the instrument. And I wanted to develop my voice. Because the voice is an instrument too, right? So what I did is I purposely didn't play with anybody. I just wanted to understand who I was as a guitar player, develop my own style. And I started off with, the pick, using the pick. I actually ended up with this, thumb and forefinger. Kind of a disciple of Chet Atkins and Tommy Emmanuel. And the reason I like it is because, the way the tuning of the guitar is, the standard tuning, it's really set up to allow the most flexibility of chord structure on the instrument. But you have a low E and a high E. And, if you, theory, right, 12 frets up, you're dividing the string in half, and you repeat, right? So you're an octave higher, so these are like octaves, right? Well, using this type of technique, you can pick both at the same time, and it just gives some really good texture, when you're playing. So that's why I kind of migrated this way. But, the point is, everyone's got music in them. You just got to go find it, and it's work. And you have to practice. And there's no right way, there's your way. I'm a golfer, so if you go like to the golf course or driving range, you watch like a line of people practicing, right? Say 100 golfers. Everyone's got a different swing. It's their swing. The key is fundamentals. If you follow the fundamentals, then you'll be okay. Same thing with music, same guitar. Everyone plays differently, but if you understand the fundamentals of what the instrument is trying to do, what music is about, the music theory piece of it, just enough to understand, to navigate, then you can adapt your style to that. And so for me, in terms of my journey, I'd say, okay, well then let's do that. Let's figure this. Find a song you like, master that song, try to cover it like the artist. Then make the song your own. Change the tempo, change the key. Now, the key is, again, this is back to music theory, is whatever the first note you start a song on is the key of the song. So if you start a song in G, it's the key of G. Now you can use a capo, which is these things that put that change where you're actually starting, on the guitar, move it up, and you can actually change the key. So that's what's nice about a capo is you can find a range that fits your voice as you're developing your voice. Because clear, as you develop your guitar playing skill, and if you're developing your voice, your range is going to increase, and it's going to get better. So anyway, in Western music, we have the chromatic scale, 12 notes. It's just 12 notes. It started way back when. Monks, chanting in church, and they wanted to write something down so, the monastery on the other side of the hill could do the same thing. And that's what just happened in Western. Now, Eastern music is different. They use a completely different note structure and stuff like that. In fact, I'm interested now in the zither. It's a Chinese instrument, but whatever. Anyway, back to this. So, let me explain this song. So, I'm going to go through it really slow. Now, this is Freight Train, and why I think it's a great tool to warm up and to practice with. So, you're basically starting with a C, 7, so you ready? So, I'm going to go real slow here. Exercising your fingers here, because that transition to an F, F is always such a difficult chord to get solid, because you got to build this forefinger to cover 2 strings, and you got to really press it in a way that, and then you got to cover the 2nd, 3rd fret. And so it exercises all 4 feet. Now, like if you're Jimi Hendrix and he uses the thumb, right? I don't have big hands like that. I can't, so I have to just use my 4 fingers. The point I'm trying to highlight here is I've just been wooden. I have electric guitar. I don't want to even touch those. I want to learn everything about me as a guitar player on a acoustic instrument. And not use bar chords, just use chords, and develop that technique to where I can pick the individual notes as well as I'm doing chord structure, and find that texture. Now, this is what I'm doing. You do whatever you want, but this is what I'm doing. And so this is a good warm-up tool. So anyway, I'll go through it a couple times. I'm going to start picking up the speed, and I'll show you why, this transitioning is, it's hard. It's good to focus. Yeah, the other thing that's nice about this is when I learned a G like this, where this finger is just hanging out, doing nothing. But to play this song correctly and transition into a C, you do it this way. And actually, this is more efficient. And that's one thing you start learning as you progress as a musician, is move your fingers in the most efficient way around the frets. Instead of trying to do all this dancing with your hands, what is the natural? all of a sudden this finger is can be used for all sorts of things. Now see, if you heard, a few of those notes sounded muted because my finger placement was up on the other string. So when you're listening to that, try to get your fingers solid, right? See that here? So this finger got lazy and it laid down on the D string, right? Yeah. And you notice the F. When I go from that E transition, 7, down to the F, that is hard for me. Because I end up having these fingers tend to slide down onto those strings. And it mutes the last. Should be like that, not like. Yeah. Again, this is why this is such a good warm-up for your practice, because it makes you focus and your finger placement. And the other thing is your picking or your strumming hand. Normally you try to stay away from this top low E, your 6th string, because it's like a bass. And so when you when you want it some you bring it in where you want a bass texture in the song. But normally you want to stay away from that because it just will cloud some of the other chords that you're trying, this sound that you're trying to accomplish. So anyway, let's try it again. See how I worked it? As I speed up the tempo and I try to put more things into it, I get sloppy. My fingers, my picking, but just keep working on it. Keep working on it. Repetition. Good luck. Just keep working on it. As the saying goes, Rome was not built in a day.